Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a fantastic day today. Welcome back to Mondays in the 90s and part one of stories about MJ from the 90s provided by you all. Thank you so much to everyone who left their stories about where they were living and what it was like during the 90s in the Michael Jordan era. Before we get started, I want to thank a couple of people. Thanks to @G the Great One, I believe formerly known as G Tracy 82. Thanks for the $5 super thanks. And he says, everyone in the mainstream media protects LeBron, including Skip Bayless. This is the reason the LeBron stands look at us crazy when we criticize him. No one is to criticize LeBron. He's off limits in their eyes. We might as well put LeBron into the category with the trans, the Jays, and the Rainbow Gang. MJ never got that kind of treatment or protecting from the media. Thank you as always for another great video, Uncommon Sense, and thank you for making that video for me. Thank you for making that other video for me. You're absolutely welcome. Can we get a video on performance regardless of competition? Basically, people like to talk about how LeBron faced tougher competition than MJ. We know that's not true, but even if it was, it's not valid. We can debate a lot of things, but what we can't debate is who choked and who didn't. LeBron choked against 90s players, 2000s players, and 2010 players. In that 2007 finals, those were mainly 90s guys he was playing against. Facts. Bruce Bowen, Michael Finley, Brent Berry, Robert Horry, and even Duncan. In the 2011 finals, those were a lot of players from the 2000s. And in 2021 and 2023, he choked against 2010 guys. In 2021, it was a wrap for the Lakers once AD went down. LeBron quit like he always does and lost to the choking Suns lead by the choker CP3. In 2023, LeBron couldn't close out just one game and fell apart at the end of them. Jordan never had that problem. Facts. To me, that's really the kind of end of the conversation is Michael Jordan never choked. He never choked. You can't point to one time where you can say he choked. Now, has Michael Jordan had bad games like everyone else? Absolutely. But again, whenever MJ had bad games, he was very good about knowing how to affect the game in other ways, affect the game with his defense and hustle and leadership on the court. So, and MJ simply never just cracked under the pressure. That doesn't happen to MJ. But @G the Great One. So much thanks for your continued support of the channel. And I will add that video about LeBron's performance to the list. It might come down the line because I actually got quite a few videos I need to get to, and I'm still gonna make some other parts to that to the original video that you asked about some of his failures. So we got I say at least one or two more videos coming in that series. But thanks so much for the $5 super thanks. One more. Shout out to @JamesChicks5858. Oh, I'm sorry, @JamesHicks5858. Thanks so much for the $5 super thanks. And his message is simply thanks. You are welcome, but thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you all for supporting the channel. All right, so let's get into some of these stories from the 90s. First one's coming from @Dr. 3196. And that's at Doctor with a K, Doktor 3196. Someone who's been supporting this channel, I think probably almost since the beginning of my journey, or at least within a couple of months into it. But anyway, he says, I'm born in 83. I was stateside in the 80s, but I didn't know what was going on. I was abroad in Asia during the early 90s. There was definitely words of Jordan being the greatest. I got to see some of the 97 and watch the finals in 98 on TV in Los Angeles. The shot was the greatest sports moment ever. Kobe comes along, and I thought we're going to keep seeing the same caliber of players, and it's been the opposite. Stuff from the 90s I miss. The music. Space Jam soundtrack alone had great songs. Girls were way prettier on TV. Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jennifer Hewitt, Liv Tyler, just to name a few white actresses. Yeah, you know what? And thanks again for that comment, at Dr. 3196. Yeah, all facts. One thing he said, though, I think we probably can all relate to this, because I felt this when he said this. He said, Kobe comes along, and I thought we're going to keep seeing the same caliber of players. Boy, that statement hit me right there, because I feel the same way. Kobe was like the guy who we really felt was carrying that torch. And again, you know, Kobe was the last of that type of player. You know, when Kobe left the league, after Kobe left, it was nobody else holding the league to a standard like that. And, you know, when Kobe passed, that was devastating for a lot of reasons, you know. And, you know, I feel sorry for Kobe's family and wife and daughters left behind. But I must say, you know, on a selfish note, you know, Kobe's passing was tragic, because you knew, again, Kobe was the last of that kind of player that gave us that kind of excitement. And, you know, I felt like me and Kobe was the same age. So I always felt a certain kind of connection to Kobe just because of that. So when he passed, you know, it hit, because it's like, man, we the same age, you know, and too young to be leaving the earth in such a way. But yeah, I felt that statement. You know, when I think Kobe, for all of us who grew up in that Jordan era, you know, kind of gave us all hope that, okay, you know, this standard is going to continue. You know, we're going to have more and more competitors like this. But, you know, as at the Dr. 3196 said, it has been quite the opposite. Once Kobe left, you know, the NBA just took a nosedive. But anyway, thanks for that comment again. Let's move on to the next one. Next comment is from at Dragon Ray 9450. And he says, born and raised here in Chicago. I was in my 20s during that time, and all I can tell you is the city was never more chill during those championship years. Up until then, all we had was the 85 Bears, indeed, and Al Capone. Jordan made the whole city champions, but even more than that, gave us young black boys someone to look up to. By the way, Diggable Planets were so ahead of their time. Heard them for the first time on New York Undercover. Love your channel, brother. Hey, thanks so much for that comment. Thanks for supporting the channel. I can't even imagine. Those of you who grew up in Chicago during that time, I can't even imagine. Like I would love just a sneak peek into what it was like to be alive in the city of Chicago during those times. And the 85 Bears, to me, like I said, I'm definitely not as biggest football fan as I am a basketball fan by far. However, I am a big fan of Walter Payton. You know, Walter Payton, to me, is got to be top 3 running backs of all time. Just the speed and the power and the agility of that guy was, I don't know if we've seen it in a package like that since. But anyway, yeah, shout out to Chicago. And yeah, I agree. Diggable Planets were definitely ahead of their time. And yeah, thanks for bringing up New York Undercover too, because I used to watch that show all the time back then. But anyway, shout out to Dragon Ray 9450. Next one is a short one. This is coming from @LeeCannon7429. Said, definitely grew up in the Michael Jordan era, was born in 78 from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Jordan is definitely the GOAT, not even a debate. And don't forget, Pac was in that era. That era was the best era. Facts. And yeah, I definitely don't forget Pac. Matter of fact, I got a couple of videos on Pac. But yeah, like I said, it was so many icons in that era to me that were just unmatched, that, you know, it's hard for people to understand that. Like we had MJ, we had the three Mikes, you know, we had Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, and Mike Tyson. And then in music, you know, Tupac, you know, to me, he's the greatest rapper ever, but I feel like at the very least, everyone would have to concede that he's probably the most influential, most impactful rapper ever. But yeah, we just had so much in the 90s. Let's move on to the next one. This one is at JDJ Draw. And he says, I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. I first learned about MJ in the 9th grade. Some kids came to school talking about this player who dropped 63 on the Celtics and the great Larry Bird. At that time, Larry was considered the greatest player in the NBA by most people. I remember being astounded that someone could score so many points and was equally astounded that his team still lost the game. Like you, basketball was my life as a team, and MJ was the center of it all. Shout out to Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah, I think that's the one thing, you know, even if you don't think Michael Jordan is the GOAT, you have to concede that he was so respected by his peers. You know, again, Larry Bird saying that. Before long, Magic Johnson was saying that. You know, and this is why they're still in the league. You know, Isaiah Thomas, no matter what he says now, you know, there's interviews. One I can think of in particular, of interview of Isaiah Thomas on Arsenio Hall, and he's pretty much fanboying out over Michael Jordan. So, you know, to me, that's the one thing, you know, for those of you, whether you believe Michael Jordan is the GOAT or not, you have to give it up that the greatest players of his time conceded to him being the best player in the league. And that is Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and even Isaiah Thomas. But shout out to JDJ Draw. I appreciate that comment. We're going to do one or two more. This one comes from @Jones Bugnosin. Forgive me if I'm not pronouncing that right, but I think it's right. @Jones Bugnosin. And he says, Philippines during the Jordan era. Most kids know him. There are families who don't have their own TV, but still they took effort to watch Jordan by going to neighbor's house. Can't miss watching every Chicago Bulls game. You can notice people watching stand up in awe as they watch Jordan show his skills in playing basketball. Truly a poetry in motion in every move. I always love when he shoots the ball, staying longer in the air against his defenders. Something I haven't seen these days. Facts. You know, yeah, facts. I mean, that's the thing about MJ is like, for everything that they keep trying to tell us about how the league has evolved and, you know, and everybody's so-called great now, it's like we still haven't seen a player like Jordan. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen a player move like Jordan. We haven't seen a player be able to hang in the air as long as Jordan. And I'm gonna go ahead and say this because a lot of y'all fanboys, you like to try to diminish Jordan's jumping ability, like, oh, he couldn't have jumped that high. I would argue that his hang time is a direct result of how high he could jump. I'm not saying all of it, so some of it is I don't know what it is. It's just Jordan's refusal to come back down to earth. But part of it is just how high he could jump. He could jump higher than everybody, and he could jump higher than most of the players in today's league. I mean, if not 99% of players in today's league. I don't know the vertical of some of these players today, but I highly doubt anybody is surpassing 48 inches. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, my Michael Jordan, he was just, like he says, he was just truly poetry in motion. It's like you can't name another player that has a more pleasing game to watch. From the jump shot to how he dribbles, to the spin moves, to the double clutch shots, to the reverse layups, and even playing defense. But yeah, shout out to @Jones Bugnosing, and shout out to the Philippines. Thanks for leaving that comment. And this gonna be the last one for today. This one comes from a viewer with a great name. I think I've said this before. I think I've read one of his comments before. But shout out to @The Disease is the Cure. And he says, every season Jordan played meant that even in the off chance my New Jersey Nets were semi-good that year, the season was over before it even started. Guess it could have been worse. Knicks fans always thought every year was their shot. Over the years, I've had my nose broken a couple of times. A kid jammed his entire pinky finger in my eye socket. Had my ring finger hyperextended backwards at the knuckle. So yeah, that shit was competitive. Hey, facts. Again, for those of you who didn't grow up back that time, like the thing about Jordan is, not only did he inspire everyone to want to play basketball, but I think he inspired the most competitive brand of basketball that could be played. Because not only did you want to be like Mike in terms of copying the moves, but you wanted to be like Mike in terms of showing that killer instinct. In terms of showing that relentlessness, in terms of showing that competitiveness. So yeah, the 90s brand of basketball was highly, highly competitive. And I'm not saying that it was all for the good, because like I said, there were definitely many fights, and unfortunately, like I said, there were some courts you didn't want to go to if you didn't know anybody. Probably even if you did know them. There were some courts where it was a good chance that some gun violence could break out from the basketball games. But everybody was trying to compete, But anyway, we're going to wrap this up here. Thank you guys again so much for participating. And next week, we will resume with the comments. There's a lot of comments on here to get through. So, it'll be quite a few parts of this series. But like I said, thank you guys so much for participating, sharing your stories so that we can show the younger generations, maybe they can get a glimpse of what the Jordan era was like. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. You all have a truly, truly fantastic day, and I will see you next time. All right.